Hello everyone. We'll begin the webinar shortly. Just giving 1 or 2 minutes for people to come in and we'll start soon. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. On behalf of the UNICEF East Asia and the Pacific Regional Office and the UNICEF Philippines Country Office and our colleagues in New York, a very warm welcome to everyone joining this webinar. I am Shirley Mark Prabhu, HIV/AIDS Specialist at the UNICEF East Asia and the Pacific Regional Office, together with our regional HIV team here. Joining us in the Philippines are our country office HIV team and colleagues from the Epidemiology Bureau, Department of Health in Manila, Quezon City, and Cebu City. Before we begin, a few things to remember. The webinar will be on audio-only mode, so to avoid connection lag. And if you're listening in, we request you to please turn your microphone on mute, so to avoid feedback and other audio issues. For questions, we are suggesting you raise them via the instant messaging option on Skype for Business. We have slotted about 30 minutes for Q&A after the presentations. And we'd also like to inform you that the slides from the webinar will be available later and we will share them with you, as well as the link to the recordings. We'll begin the session with a brief introduction to the All-In Ending AIDS in Adolescence platform. In February 2015, UNICEF and UNAIDS launched a broad effort to accelerate progress in the AIDS response for adolescents 10 to 19, known as the All-In to End Adolescent AIDS. And All-In is a collaborative platform to drive results for adolescents at risk of HIV through critical changes in programming and policy. This platform unites actors across sectors to accelerate reductions in AIDS-related deaths and new HIV infections among adolescents by 2020 and towards ending the AIDS epidemic for all by 2030. Two specific targets have been set for 2020. That is, to reduce new HIV infections among adolescents by at least 75% and reduce AIDS-related deaths among adolescents by at least 65%. Working in collaboration with UNICEF and UNAIDS are our other partners who are WHO, UNFPA, PEPFAR, the Global Fund, MTV, other governments here in this region and in Africa, and youth networks at both global, regional, and at country levels. 4 key action areas of the All-In are engaging, mobilizing, and supporting adolescents as leaders and agents of social change, sharpening adolescents' elements of national AIDS programs through improved data collection and analysis. And in today's webinar, we'll get to hear more of the Philippines experience today. And the third area is innovation. Innovation in both technologies and approaches for improved adolescent engagement and increased impact of prevention, treatment, and care programs. The fourth area is advocacy, communication, and resource mobilization. In the context of the low and concentrated epidemic context here in East Asia Pacific, the 4 countries where we are implementing the all-in are China, Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand. And to measure program performance and equity gaps, UNICEF both globally and regionally have supported several countries to conduct national adolescent HIV data assessments since the launch of the all-in in February 2015. The assessment includes 3 phases. Phase 1 is a rapid assessment at both national and subnational levels to define who's most affected, where are they located, and what interventions have the largest coverage gaps. Phase 2 is in-depth analysis of bottlenecks, and the phase 3 is evidence-informed planning to identify corrective actions to address bottlenecks, data gaps, and to improve intervention coverage, quality, and impact. These assessments are helping countries to target the most appropriate interventions to the adolescents at greatest risk of HIV infections. Today, we will hear from our colleagues in the UNICEF Philippines Country Office and Epidemiology Bureau, Department of Health in Manila, Quezon City, and Cebu City on how they have worked together in implementing the all-in. Let me now invite Dr. Willibald Zek, Chief Health and Nutrition, UNICEF Philippines, to share on how the HIV team has supported the Phase 1 and Phase 2 implementation and their engagement with the Department of Health, Epidemiology Bureau, the local government units, and the young key population and civil society networks in implementing the all-in. Over to you, Dr. Will. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Will Zek. I'm the Chief of Health and Nutrition in the UNICEF Philippines Country Office. And I just do a bit of an introduction about the support to Phase 1 and 2 in terms of implementation of all-in the Philippines. A bit of a background about the Philippines. Philippines has undergone has gone from an extremely centralized health system in the 70s and 80s to an extremely decentralized health system with 1,500 districts. Each district has a mayor who is very powerful. It's a very much bottom-up approach, you could say. We have 7,100 islands. We have also armed conflict ongoing in the southern part of the country. As you might know, we have typhoons, earthquakes, natural disasters, and we also have rapid urbanization like any other Southeast Asian country with all its advantages and disadvantages. The Philippines is among those countries with highest economic growth in Southeast Asia, and that means that we have also increasing government funds available. And with economic growth and increasing funds also in the health sector, we have increasing inequities. But at the same time, this is a major or important stage for a major opportunity in terms of the stage that the Philippines is in at the moment in terms of political economy. And for partners such as UNICEF, we have to reorient ourselves into a mix of technical and policy-oriented support. And I think the All-In initiative shows that this technical and policy-oriented support is put into practice. In terms of HIV, you might be aware that Philippines is one of the few countries in the world with an expanding HIV epidemic. In 2008, we had 1 case being reported every day, and now in 2015, we have 22 cases being diagnosed every day. And that's really a substantial increase that cannot be ignored. And if we dig more into the data, we can see the prevalence among the general population is still low. It's below 1%, but as I said, the increase is the worry. If we look at key populations, we see that 10% of the affected ones are men having sex with men and female sex workers. We have 52% injected drug users, and most importantly and most interestingly, adolescents, we find that more than 50% of all new infections are in the age group 25 to 34, 28 between 15 and 24. And that's our main worry. We have a data gap among 10 to 14-year-olds, and we know that the young generation is entering sexual life earlier and earlier, and so this data will be very, very important, especially for girls. So why all in the Philippines? I think you saw the numbers. It's quite clear that we need to take action, and that's why the Philippines embarked the All In initiative. The engagement started in October 2015, and for us, it's really a platform to bring everyone together to stop adolescent deaths, infectious diseases, and so on. And you see here a list of entities working together. It's certainly the Ministry of Health, which is called the Department of Health here in the Philippines, DOH, and local government, very importantly, UNAIDS, Save the Children, other UN partners, civil society, youth organizations, and I also have to thank the regional office in UNICEF that is very closely collaborating with our country office. So what are the three phases? What is the support we give in the three phases that Shirley has mentioned? So phase one, we support initial data gathering. We try to create data for national and subnational evidence-based planning. So subnational means district level, regional level, province level, city level, very important. We have an integrated HIV behavioral and serological surveillance system that is undertaking an exercise every 2 years, and we informed this surveillance system or exercise. We use data for advocacy on national and subnational levels, and as you will see by the presentation from our government colleagues, we focus currently on 2 cities. And the phase 2 goes on that based on this data collection that we have done, the data is or has been analyzed in terms of age and gender responsiveness. We are developing plans and local strategies based on this data. And very important, meaningful participation of adolescents and youth. And we try to really include these key populations at every level of discussion. And I think this is a crucial, very crucial point, that we don't forget to include those who are really affected. And how have we translated the All-In Global Initiative into the Philippines context? We have basically adopted the global process of All-In, but we have adapted these global processes to the local context, first to national level and then on city level, as you will hear. But very important, from the city level engagement, we will feed back to the national level in terms of experience, in terms of data, in terms of the analysis and the strategies we will identify. So it's really going down to national, subnational, and go back to national with our experience to policy level, hopefully. And for the phase 3, so the next step, we will do and continue to do corrective actions in terms of bottlenecks and data gaps we have identified. We will support implementation of the strategic plans, especially locally. We will continue capacity building and, very important, advocacy together with youth organizations. So Shirley, that's from my side. Thank you for letting me speak here, and over to you. Shirley, can you hear us? Hello, Shirley.
Hello? Yes. Thank you, Dr. Williams, for your introduction on the HIV situation on adolescents and young people populations in the Philippines. Our next presenter is Dr. Genesis Mesa Monte, Chief, HIV Surveillance and Strategic Information Unit, Epidemiology Bureau, Department of Health, and Ms. Jessica Rafaela Mirano, Surveillance Officer, HIV Surveillance and Strategic Information Unit, Epidemiology Bureau, Department of Health, Philippines. Dr. Genesis and Ms. Jessica will share with us findings from the assessment exercise in Quezon City and Cebu City. Over to you, Dr. Genesis and Jessica. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley, for your introduction. So, as Dr. Will and Shirley already mentioned, the Philippines has taken the initiative to adapt the All-In initiative, but in our own country and local context. So, I'm going to discuss in more detail the process that we underwent in the past months with regards to the All-In adaptation in our country. Since 2009, the Philippines has seen an increase in the number of HIV cases among young people 15 to 24 years old through our national case reporting system. Moreover, the IHBSS, which is our national HIV prevalence survey, which we conduct every 2 years, show that risky behavior such as first sex and first drug use begin when key affected populations are still minors 16 to 17 years old, while protective behaviors such as condom use start much later on. You can see this on the left side of the slide. This information actually convinced our Minister of Health on the rising HIV problem among the youth here in our country. Analyzing data at the subnational level also validated our findings from the case reports, as HIV prevalence trend has been increasing among young males who have sex with males 15 to 19 years old from 2011 to 2015 IHBSS, specifically in 2 high prevalence cities, which you can see on the right side of the presentation, Quezon City and Cebu City. All these information support the need to enhance interventions for young key affected populations in our country. In line with this, a framework to enhance YCAP interventions was developed with partners such as UNICEF, UNAIDS, Save the Children, and other youth advocacy groups beginning January of this year. Our primary action was to call a stakeholders meeting to engage them before implementing the 4 phases of our framework. This helped us gain buy-in from local stakeholders, develop partnerships to aid the assessment, and gain their commitment that they would use the data from the assessment to plan for appropriate YCAP interventions in their city. Of course, ultimately, our goal is not only to gather all these data for the sake of assessment, but that these data will eventually be used to change policy and to change programs in our country. In the assessment phase, which is the first phase, 4 methods were used by the country to gather the data we needed. The second phase, which is planning, heavily relied on the assessment findings per city to develop evidence-based strategies for YCAP interventions. We are now in the third phase, which is the implementation of strategies. Then phase 4 will be conducted by next year to evaluate the effectiveness of the strategies we are implementing this year and hopefully see if it can be expanded to other areas within the cities or to other cities within our country as well. My next slides are focused on the 4 methods used for the assessment. A descriptive analysis was conducted in late 2015 with technical support from UNICEF Regional Office and the UNICEF Country Office, and this analysis was turned into an advocacy briefer specific for YCAP, which was developed to raise awareness of the increasing problem among the youth here in the country. However, we also wanted to look at the factors contributing to the increasing HIV cases among young people. This called for a more in-depth, more disaggregated analysis of IHBSS data because we wanted to answer questions such as what was putting them at risk so early? Or were their risk factors different in each city? Or was there a pattern among subgroups such as those in high school, those in college, or those who are not in schools? These, together with other questions, served as the basis to creatively analyze the IHBSS, which is one of our richest source of data on key affected populations in our country. On the other hand, we also wanted to answer the question, what are the things already being done in each city? So we distributed a tool during the stakeholders meeting to map out what existed and where the intervention gaps were, especially on HIV information dissemination, condom distribution, HIV testing, and treatment. As a follow-up to the IHBSS, key informant interviews were conducted among young MSM, asking questions such as, if you feel that you may have HIV or other STIs, what would you do about it? Or where would you prefer to get free condoms or get a free HIV test? To get this information, cruising sites where a high number of young MSM were revisited to gather 60 respondents in each city who were interviewed using a short questionnaire. Lastly, a focus group discussion type of data collection was conducted, but we wanted to ensure that it will be in the format of a youth-friendly workshop. During the pilot workshop, the team realized that there were differences between male and female identifying respondents in terms of their definition of having sex, the terms they use for sex, the risky sexual behaviors that they practice, for example, if they accept payment for sex, and the different protective behaviors such as condom use that these subgroups practice. This made the assessment team decide to conduct 2 separate workshops for male identifying and female identifying young MSM. Moreover, since possible entry points for delivery of services were different for college and high school students, 2 separate workshops were conducted for them as well. To facilitate recruitment of participants, existing YCAT networks such as peer educators were tapped so we can recruit the 10 to 15 participants we needed per workshop. To collect qualitative data from young people, we needed to design activities that were fun and engaging, but can effectively provide us with the data we need. For us in the Department of Health, this really required very strong partnership with different youth organizations and with different partners who are used to working with young people, because we realized that the usual methods to collect data won't be as effective when we are talking to young key-affected populations. Therefore, we developed a slam book for the workshop. So we're not sure if you're familiar with the concept of the slam book, but in the Philippines, they are popular booklets with personal questions like your favorite color, favorite movie, or your favorite quote that students exchange among friends to get to know each other better. We decided to adapt this concept, and we started with questions similar to a regular slam book, but eventually asked questions on when was your first kiss? Or do you talk about HIV with friends? So definitely these are not questions we usually find in slam books you buy anywhere, but you wanted to make it friendly, but at the same time, get the information we are interested in. In this way, while the young MSM were having fun answering the questions through the slam book and games that we designed, we were able to document their responses really well because we collected the slam book at the end of each workshop. My next 4 slides describe the major findings from the assessment. Only 1 in every 5 young MSM in Quezon City and Cebu City answered the 5 basic HIV questions on transmission and prevention correctly. Their most common sources of HIV information were television and friends. However, while 7 out of 10 young MSM were studying in schools, few said they get HIV information from the classroom, even though HIV should be part of the grade 8 health curriculum. Several reasons for this were identified. First, there is currently no formal training on HIV that are offered to teachers, so it's difficult for us to expect them to be discussing this confidently to their students if they haven't been trained to do it in the first place. Second is that standardized high school textbooks, which are present, contain outdated information on HIV. And lastly, some teachers were not comfortable to discuss the topic on HIV and STI. In fact, they're not even some teachers are not even comfortable saying the word sex or related terms within the classroom, which led them to skipping the lesson altogether or discussing it but very, very briefly. The assessment clearly showed that there is an untapped potential in the form of schools where youth, including YCAP, serve as a captive audience. Data from previous IHBSS show that condom use is generally low in the Philippines. While in every round of our IHBSS, which we do every 2 years, show a 2 to 3% increase in condom use, it still remains low at only 48% among young MSM in Quezon City and in Cebu City. Around half of these young MSM who did not use a condom cited unavailability of condoms as their primary reason for having unprotected anal sex. Access to condoms were particularly low among young MSM who were still studying in high school. However, aside from making condoms available, data show that there is a need to increase proper condom use skills among young MSM since none of the workshop participants demonstrated correct condom use despite their knowledge that condoms protect against HIV. One of our greatest learning from the assessment is really not assuming that just because a person knows what a condom is or know that it can protect against HIV means that the person has the proper skills to use a condom correctly. And that was something we were able to assess through the demonstration we conducted during the youth-friendly workshops. Moving on to the next slide, 67% of people living with HIV 20 years old and above have been diagnosed with HIV here in the country. This data comes from looking at the cases reported in our registry as compared to the Spectrum Estimates, which is our projection tool. HIV diagnosis among the older population is relatively high at 67%, but only 2% of young PLHIV 15 to 17 years old have been diagnosed. In the Philippines, people below 18 years old need parental consent to be tested for HIV. However, even though 18 to 19-year-olds can be tested voluntarily without the need for parental consent, HIV diagnosis is only at 19%. The primary reason for not getting tested that was cited in Cebu was having no time, while young MSM in Quezon City feel no need to get tested. Missing young PLHIV in the first step of HIV diagnosis also leads to low treatment coverage. In fact, ART literacy is especially low in our country at only around 2% among young MSM who know what ART is. Lastly, our findings also show that young MSM who have been reached by peer educators are 12 times as likely to have correct basic knowledge on HIV as compared to young MSM who have not been reached by a peer educator. Similar findings were seen for condom use and for HIV testing. So this means that somehow our current efforts to provide services to young people through peer educators are having an effect on their knowledge, their condom use, and their HIV testing. However, the issue is the coverage, because few young MSM have been reached by peer educators, with only 1 out of 10 in Quezon City and 3 out of 10 in Cebu City who have been reached by peer educator for HIV services in the past 12 months. While the peer education program has been intensified over the past few years, peer educators mostly reach older MSM. Several small-scale activities to also provide services to younger MSM exist, but collaboration is currently weak. Stakeholder survey also revealed that there are recent developments which include a YCAP peer education module developed by Save the Children and UNICEF, which is scheduled to be disseminated to sites and to be used for peer education training. All these key assessment findings were packaged and presented to stakeholders, and this facilitated their buy-in and commitment to enhancing YCAP interventions in the Philippines. Throughout the assessment process, we learned from the different methods used as shown in this slide. In particular, however, I want to emphasize how building partnerships was an essential component of the assessment. Engaging stakeholders prior to the assessment helped ensure smooth implementation and a commitment to plan concrete steps based on assessment findings. One highlight of the entire Philippine experience is the engagement and collaboration with young people, from conceptualization to actual data collection and analysis. I guess based on our experience at the Department of Health, this is really one of the activities where we heavily engaged and relied actually very heavily on our young partners in order to conduct the assessment successfully. And even though we conducted the assessment in 2 different cities, Quezon City and Cebu City, the methods were effective in both cities to gather the information we needed to eventually support evidence-based planning. So I am now giving the floor to Dr. Genesis Amonte, who will be discussing the planning phase of enhancing YCAP intervention in the Philippines.
there was indeed a wealth of findings that came from the assessment. So next was the critical task of how to translate the findings into strategic plans that the Philippines and the two cities would embrace, own, and actually implement. So a core group was organized to discuss the assessment findings. There was a lot of findings. We had to weed through that and do a causal analysis and synthesize them into key themes. We then discussed the assessment findings with HIV program managers and adolescent health program managers from the Department of Health and the two cities. Together, we reviewed the current status of their YCAP interventions and explored possible initiatives that they could support in the short term and in the medium term. Since the two cities had two very different dynamics, we customized a 3-day planning workshop for each city. In preparing for these workshops, the packaging of assessment findings, proper training of facilitators, and ensuring that key decision makers would participate were all pivotal. The planning workshop had plenary sessions as well as 3 smaller discussion groups. Based on their affiliation, the participants were divided into the school group, community group, and NGOs. We had a lot of young MSM who also participated in the planning workshop, which added value and validated the findings from the assessment, as well as the key strategies that the planning workshop developed. We used force field analysis as our planning tool. This process proved to be very facilitative in helping cities understand the HIV situation and intervention needs of their YCAP. The participants appreciated that every step of the tool was simple, linked, and very visual. By the end of the 3rd day, key strategies drawn from the assessment findings were identified. The strategies were anchored on what the cities already had, on closer multi-stakeholder collaboration and coordination, and on what could be implemented immediately but could also be further improved in the long run. Even though Quezon City and Cebu City had different capacities and dynamics, 4 similar key strategies emerged from the 2 workshops. These include 1. Tapping the existing village youth councils to expand peer education in their community. 2. Development of a standard reference material to strengthen implementation of the high school HIV curriculum. 3. Establishing functional service delivery networks to link at-risk youth in schools and communities with health service providers and NGOs. And 4. Expansion of distribution points for condoms and lubricants. With the assistance of the Department of Health, the Department of Education, UNICEF, Global Fund through Save the Children, and many other very eager partners, the 2 cities devised city-specific ways of implementing these strategies. This slide summarizes the Philippines' learning during the planning phase from preparation to the conduct of the actual workshops. The YCAP assessment methods discussed by Jessica earlier, as well as this planning template, worked very well in the 2 cities. And we are confident that it will work well in other cities as well as we expand the YCAP assessment and planning in other cities. So now I will go on to discuss, on behalf of Quezon City, their city-specific YCAP interventions. For the YCAP prevention in Quezon City, it included encouraging parents of young people to be adolescent health advocates through adolescent and youth development program sessions, empowering the youth leaders of Task Force for Youth Development to be peer educators and to increase HIV knowledge and awareness among youth in their communities. For the school strategy, Quezon City will be establishing a YCAP prevention continuum in schools, which I will discuss later. And for organizations partnering with Quezon City, they will ensure adequate stocks of condoms and lubes in partnership with the Quezon City Health Department so that there will be a responsive and quick delivery system to all village youth leaders as well as health centers, so there will be no stockouts of condoms and lubes throughout the city. The Quezon City Prevention Continuum for YCAP in schools aims to provide the general student population with information on HIV, STI, condom access points, and testing facilities. They aim that there will be no student in Quezon City that lacks the knowledge on HIV and STI, as well as the services that are available throughout the city. Then there will be a funneling mechanism to provide young MSM and other young key affected populations with access to psychosocial and health services as needed. Eventually, they hope that YCAP will be change agents within their schools and their communities. Quezon City Mayor Herbert Bautista has committed to prioritizing YCAP interventions in his city. As an HIV advocate himself, he wants to be a role model for the youth. With supportive leaders and evidence-based strategies and the support of partners and the community, Quezon City is on the verge of a transformative response that will hopefully soon end the epidemic in the city. Now I turn over to Dr. Ilya Takaan from Cebu City to discuss the city-specific strategies of Cebu in the following slides.
Good morning, everyone. So Cebu City is located in the southern part of the Philippines and is having a concentrated HIV epidemic. A lot of interventions has been done, but mostly for key affected population, but there's no targeted interventions for young key affected population. So we appreciate very much the more in-depth analysis of the IHBSS data and the assessment done during the first phase of the project to have data for young key affected population and to come up with a youth-specific interventions. So we form a core group composed of representatives from schools, NGOs, and local government units, although each group will implement the interventions independently, but there would be areas also for convergence. So for this slide, the first activity would be to implement HIV discussion in grade 8 health classes using the supplementary reference material in 4 pilot schools, because it was identified that there is no standard material for HIV teaching in the school. So the Department of Health came up with a supplementary reference material that will be used to teach the grade 8 students, and it will be piloted in 4 schools. At the same time, the City Health Department and our partner NGOs will be providing also HIV 101 to grade 9 students using the same teaching materials. And after that, there is also a partner schools, the Cebu Institute of Medicine, that will adapt a certain barangay and school where they will utilize medical interns to provide HIV education also in the schools as well as in the community, and after that to do an assessment also. So after the interventions, the first interventions, a risk assessment will be done to identify young men having sex with men using a standardized self-administered questionnaire. Then once the young key affected population will be identified, they will be referred to guidance counselors for counseling and to provide information on where to access condom and free HIV testing. I think you're also aware that there's a limitation in our country wherein we cannot do HIV testing for children below 18 years old unless there's a parent's consent. So in the school, they identify this strategy wherein during the PTA or the Parents Teachers Association Assembly, they will be doing HIV education, and at the same time, they will get the parents' consent for possible HIV testing for their children. So we hope we can address the issue of the parents' consent for HIV testing for children below 18 years old. So to prepare also the services that will be done in the health centers, we plan to have a youth-friendly center in all barangays, the 80 barangays in Cebu City. We will be training personnel to be youth-friendly and to come up with a special day for youth wherein you can provide HIV education, provide IEC materials, condoms could also be distributed, and they can also schedule HIV counseling and testing. Then we also partner with the Task Force for Youth Development, and they plan to have peer advocacy training and utilize these peer advocates to provide HIV education to the youth in different barangays and to utilize also activities related to specific for youth like youth festival. And then we also have the Youth Month wherein they can also do youth-led activities in the city and in the barangays. The Department of Social Welfare also planned to institutionalize activities for the integration of HIV education in Pantawik Pamilya program. That's a family-based development program wherein parents can also be given HIV education, and maybe we can utilize this also to get the consent of the parents for the HIV testing for their children. So to implement all this, we need a city-level policy. We need to capacitate our health personnel with a partnership with the NGOs to come up with the standardized IEC materials to provide education also among our youth. So all these activities we plan to implement for the next 4 months. Then after that, we will do the assessment. And if the assessment will be positive, we can roll out all this in all schools in Cebu City as well as in all barangays. That's all. Thank you.
We turn it over back to you, Shirley.
Thank you very much, Dr. Genesis, Dr. Jessica, Dr. Ilya Takan. Thank you very much. So we come to the end of the presentations now, and we'll open up the webinar for your comments, suggestions, and questions. So since this is an audio webinar, since we'd like to avoid audio issues, we kindly request you to type in your questions in the instant messenger box, and we will bring that up to our presenters now. So please feel free to type your questions and we'll share them with our presenters. We have a question from Dr. Priscilla. Are phase 2 and phase 3 already done, being rolled out, or still under planning stage? I'm surprised about no mention of legal and ethical barriers to access to services. In most instances, I have heard of criminalization of behaviors among key populations and legal repercussions for key populations. Is this a problem in the Philippines or not at all? That is, acceptance is high and therefore is not a barrier to access to information and services. C, you mentioned an evaluation next year. Wouldn't it be too early for an evaluation given that the outcome or impact results take long to achieve? Perhaps you could consider a less rigorous process, such as a review that looks at different components of the process, what worked well and what didn't, and then recommendations to improve further scale up. And just a thought, what is the age of consent for sex? Use of condoms testing, is it 18? What is the lowest age for responding to surveys? I noted some of your slides has an age 0 to 14 years, and I assume you really meant below 15 years as infants. Infants can't respond to surveys. Okay. So, Dr. Jen, would you like to take this question? Dr.
Hi,
Jen?
Shirley. Thank you. Hi,
Okay.
Shirley. This is Jessica.
Okay, go ahead.
I will answer a few of the questions. Yeah, I will answer a few of the questions that Dr. Priscilla raised. The first question on whether the status of the phase 2 and phase 3. So actually, we have conducted already the planning workshops in Quezon City and in Cebu City. And now we are at the stage of finalizing the materials that will be used for implementation of the school-based programs. And so we're basically in the last stages of operationalizing and preparing all of the materials needed for implementation. And actually, our tight timeline is motivated by the fact that both Quezon City and Cebu City wish to implement already these interventions this coming school year, which is already beginning this June 2016. And so we want to really start the implementation of the school-based strategies specifically by July 2016 at the latest. For the second question, there is actually a legal barrier when it comes to HIV testing. I mentioned briefly earlier that the 2% percentage of those diagnosed with HIV among the 15 to 17 years old might be because of the legal barriers that are present, since they need parental consent before they can get tested for HIV. However, for other services such as getting information on HIV or getting free condoms, most of the private facilities can provide condoms without legal barriers. In terms of the behavior, the MSM behavior being criminalized, here in the country, there is some stigma or discrimination against males who have sex with males, but there isn't anything legally that would criminalize same-sex behavior here in the Philippines. And just to answer one question from Priscilla as well. For the IHBSS here in the country, we are able to include 15 to 17, our inclusion criteria for the IHBSS is they have to be at least 15 years old to be included in the survey. This is guided by the United Nations Child Protection Convention on the Rights of the Child, which allows those 15 years old and above to be included in a surveillance, just making sure that they are not going to be provided with interventions that have not yet been tested and proven to be effective. And so we do have data gaps for those below 15 years old, and the only reason why we have data on the 0 to 14 years old is that these are data from the case reporting system in the country and from the estimates projection from Spectrum. So I will pass it now to Dr. Genesis to answer the remaining questions raised by Dr. Priscilla.
In terms of the evaluation, we would be evaluating only the school-based intervention programs next year, because we want to be able to roll this out to other schools. Right now, we only will be implementing the school-based interventions in a few high schools in Quezon City and in Cebu City. The evaluation is important for us to be able to roll out these interventions in other places, as well as in other schools, as well as in other cities. For your question regarding the age of consent for sex, it's actually 12 years old in the Philippines, but consent for marriage depends if you're a male or a female. So 13 years old up to the age of 21 is still, so there are very different legal consent ages depending on what we're talking about, and so there are different issues that will be encountered. But in terms of age of use for condoms, there is none, and age of testing is 18. Back to you, Shirley.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jen and Jessica. So the next question is Chorpon Emanuela. And be grateful if you can just mention your country. Thanks for presentation to all speakers. My question is how the services are integrated with the overall services provided by the health system.
Thank you for that question. We made sure that all the interventions that we proposed are anchored in what is already existing, both for the Department of Health and also the Department of Education, as well as the visions of both cities, Cebu and Quezon City. There are things that are what we could say new initiatives that have not been fully tapped both at the Department of Education and the Department of Health. However, we did not propose any new intervention that is not under the mandate of the two institutions. So we did not propose anything that could not be sustained by the government. All the interventions and initiatives are anchored in things that the cities also will own and implement, not just for this particular initiative, but for the years to come. We actually have a good opportunity because it's election year this year, and we have a new batch of local chief executives and as well as a president and cabinet. So we hope that they would also support these initiatives that we are proposing.
Thank you, Dr. Genesis. The next question is from Aries Valeriano from UNAIDS regional support team here in Bangkok. I did not see specific interventions on social media. Will there be plans to reach using social media, particularly adolescents with smartphones, to be very, very specific among young MSM on dating apps? Thank you.
Hi, Shirley, thank you. And thank you, Aris, for your question. So, in terms of the partnership with social media, actually one of the things that we tapped into during the planning workshop, it's not necessarily the use of social media already, but it was highlighted the importance of the partnership between the government units, local government units, and existing media partners and NGOs whose strength is marketing and packaging information. So one major partnership that will be built would be to develop materials, standard materials that are youth-friendly, that are pleasing to the eyes, that are simple, that will be developed together with media and NGO partners, that will be disseminated in schools, but at the same time will be disseminated in Facebook groups, in YouTube, and in other available social networks already. In fact, Quezon City has already opened a Facebook page specific for young key affected populations because they really wanted to promote the different services that are available for the youth in their city. Moreover, a video is currently in the process of being developed in partnership with Save the Children in order to present basic information on HIV and available services on HIV to the youth in an interactive manner. And this will be rolled out to different schools and via different social media networks as well.
Thank you, Jessica. Thanks for letting us know of the plans that are upcoming for Quezon City. Next question is from Dr. Maria Endang-Sumiwi from Indonesia, Jakarta. Could you elaborate more on the outreach strategy, please? And yes.
Thank you for that question. So the outreach strategy is very different for the school-based intervention as well as the community intervention. So for the community intervention, there are existing peer educators specific for YCAP that is being led by different organizations that are already working in Quezon City and in Cebu City. For example, there are YPeer, Achieve, and other AIDS Society of the Philippines, Act 2015. However, and Global Fund through Save the Children. However, the coverage for YCAP has been very low in the past. So for this particular planning, we realized that there is an institutionalized organization in every village, in both Quezon City and in Cebu City and in all cities in the Philippines, who are actually elected officials, called the Task Force for Youth Development. And they are very much open to be HIV advocates in their own communities. So this is an outreach. So the outreach strategy that is being used by Global Fund through Save the Children, that same strategy will be used to train all the TFYD youth leaders to be peer advocates in each village in Quezon City and in Cebu City. So basically, we did not make a new strategy for outreach. We adapted what is already being done and is effective, and just expanding it to a broader reach and to peer educators who are actually living and interacting within those communities. For school-based intervention, the outreach strategy will be basically twofold. One is there will be a funneling mechanism wherein the general student population will be provided an opportunity to access services. So that's one. The second is developing change agents among the student leaders in the schools so that they would also reach out to their peers within the schools. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Dr. Genesis. The next question, I'll go to Yuki Fukuda from Guatemala, and she says it's the same questions as Aries, so we will not go back to that. So the question is, the next question is, how do you coordinate with the Ministry of Education or the City Department of Education? Also, there's another question which Dr. Priscilla asked, is about religious leaders. And about offering sex education in schools, so it's related to education, so maybe you could answer both questions for Yuki and Dr. Priscilla.
Thank you, Shirley. So to answer Dr. Priscilla's question, so regarding the resistance that we faced in schools and in the church, the Philippines being a Catholic country, there has been some resistance when it comes to providing sex education within the classroom. However, one important learning that we had during the entire process is the importance really of presenting and sharing the assessment findings to those stakeholders. So during the planning workshop, we invited teachers, principals from different schools within the country. We invited different church leaders as well. And so after the presentation of the findings, they were the ones who approached us and said that they didn't realize that is already the severity of the HIV situation among young people here in the country. And it really made a difference in their perspective of things. However, we still met some resistance. And one of the things that was helpful in our experience to emphasize was that to say that we're not actually promoting sexual promiscuity, because our data show that they already start having sex when they are 12, 14. On average, it's 16, but sometimes it's lower. And so we tried to emphasize that the more specific interventions when it comes to condom distribution or condom demonstration will be focused on the young MSM already. Young people who are already engaging in risky behaviors but do not have access to protective services. Second, one good thing about the Philippines is that our AIDS law actually mandates all schools to teach HIV education in the classroom. The problem is it is not being implemented because of what you have mentioned, the resistance that we face. However, HIV has been recently added as part of the grade 8 health curriculum as we updated our school system. And I think that is one of the good things that we really banked on and tried to strengthen during this entire process, because we didn't have to undergo the approval of the curriculum or the lesson, because it is already part of the curriculum, but it is not being strongly implemented due to the lack of training, lack of standardized materials, and the discomfort of some teachers. And so that is part of what we want to address this month in preparation for implementation. And lastly, just these efforts in some pilot schools in Quezon City and in Cebu City, our hope is that the results, that's why we want to evaluate it, is that we want to share the results to other schools so that we can encourage them of the positive effects that these programs could hopefully yield towards the end of our implementation.
Jessica, thank you so much. It's very important to know how you built on already existing available strategies that are already in place. For example, the education system and whether it's a curriculum, and you built on that. So I think it's useful to know that instead of doing new things, that we're also looking at what already exists to build on the existing strategies to reach to this group of people. So the next question is from Dr. Priscilla. What are the outcomes to be evaluated? She still thinks that the time period is too short. And probably also look at the next question. In the organ generic indicators, we recommended a review and validation of data beyond HIV, including other sexual and reproductive health indicators, education, social protection, mental health, etc. Were these also considered? If not, why? Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Genesis and Jessica.
Thank you, Shirley. Before I answer that question, Dr. Ilya Tacan would like to answer the question regarding collaborating with the Department of Education.
Please go ahead, Dr. Tacan.
Yeah, in most cities in the Philippines, we have the local AIDS council, wherein the Department of Education is also a member. So we didn't have a hard time coordinating with the city Ministry of Health in terms of HIV/AIDS education, because they are already part of the system, especially the local AIDS council.
For Priscilla's question regarding other indicators, unfortunately, we were not able to add social protection, mental health. However, there were questions regarding sexual and reproductive health indicators, but maybe not very exhaustive. Our goal for this assessment was to utilize the data that we already have to make sure that we are able to plan very well and implement something immediately, because there is a political context that we were also running after. Because I mentioned that this is an election year, and so we would have new officials coming this year. So it would be very opportune for us to actually implement strategies within the year and not take too much time. If we develop an assessment that would take a very, very long time, then we might miss out on this window of opportunity. However, that being said, we are open to have continual assessments to include the indicators that Priscilla mentioned. This was just something that we wanted to start already and make sure that it would move forward because of the political context. However, we are definitely open to include other indicators in the next surveys that we will be doing, especially since next year is actually an IHBSS data collection year.
Thank you, Dr. Genesis. That's very helpful to know that next year you could be considering some of these additional indicators included in the tool. That's also helpful for other countries to know, how they could also go ahead with some of these, including them in their forthcoming surveys, the ones that are not already included currently. And there's a comment from our colleague from New York. That UNICEF, in collaboration with the South African AIDS Trust, has started an age of consent review that leads to development of learning tool for country policy reform. As part of this, we are inviting adolescents all around the world to share their own experiences and views in accessing SRH and HIV. We appreciate your kind support in disseminating the following SurveyMonkey link among your partners, working with adolescent networks to add their voice to the global drive to drop barriers for access to youth and friendly and SRO services. So, we have the link there, so please feel free to download the link and respond to the. You can also share it with your partners in your own countries and in the region. And we also have UNAIDS, Peter from the UNAIDS Manila, who has been with us in the webinar. He says, looking forward to continued partnership, especially on the succeeding phases of the initiative, especially in the actual implementation of the YCAP strategies and the evaluation. UN joint team on AIDS in the Philippines maintains Quezon City and Cebu City as part of the 6 UN convergence sites under UNDAV. Thank you, Peter. I think it's really helpful to know that Quezon City and Cebu City are part of your convergence sites. And that really helps that we're all looking at the same sites, and in terms of the effectiveness of our strategies as well as the budget, that's really helpful. Thank you for your partnership. If there are no other questions, I would hand it over to the presenters again, Dr. Will, Dr. Genesis, Jessica, and Dr. Lian. If there are any further comments that you'd like to share, you may please feel free to do so, and we can then close the webinar. Thank you so much. Dr. Jen, Dr. Will, anything from the Philippines team? If not, we can close. Okay, seems like there are no more questions at the moment, and everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We especially want to thank our team in the Philippines that has worked together to put this, with the DOH team in Manila and the UNICEF office that has been working together to prepare the presentations and present for us this, today. So if there are further questions, we can continue to keep in touch on email. Please note that we will also be sharing the link to the recording as well as the presentations. UNICEF headquarters will be sharing the documents with everyone. So we can continue to keep in touch and share our learnings and strategies from your own countries. So thank you once again. Thanks a lot. Thank you for joining us. Wish you a great day. Dr. Jen has a closing message. May I kindly request Dr. Jen to share with us, please? Dr. Jennifer? Hello? Dr. Genesis, can you hear me? Hello? It looks like we've lost you. We can't hear you, Dr. Genesis.
Hello, Shirley.
Thank you. Okay, I thought I lost you. Hello?
You can hear us now? Can you
Yes,
hear
we
us
can
now?
hear you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Dr. Zen would like to say something.
Yes, please go ahead, Dr. Genesis.
Thank you, Shirley. So, in behalf of the Department of Health and all our partners here, we would like to sincerely extend our appreciation and thank you to all who have helped the Philippines be able to implement our phase 1 and phase 2 of the All-In initiative. We would like to especially thank UNICEF and UNAIDS, the Global Fund through Save the Children, and all our youth partners who have helped us understand our evolving YCAP situation here in the Philippines. And we really hope that this will only be a start. The Department of Health is committed to continue this initiative and to sustain this initiative because we do not want a single young person infected with HIV in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Genesis. With that optimistic and very encouraging note, we'd like to thank you all once again for joining us, and we'll continue to keep in touch with you, and we'll share the presentations. And thank you once again to our team in the headquarters, our team in UNICEF Philippines, and our colleagues, DOH colleagues. And thank you especially Dr. Ilian for flying over to Manila to be together with our teams. Again, thank you so much. We wish you a great day. What did we do that day? Did we?